a suspected serial killer. They finally got a major break in the case after another victim narrowly escaped death.
This victim was picked up, taken to the woods, given narcotics, lightly tied to a tree, and then cinched.
He took some pictures and then gave him the excuse, well, I gotta adjust this, adjust that. And the next thing you know, the guy's pinned up against a tree.
The victim was able to stay alive by pretending to pass out. We showed this detective a photograph of Richard Montgomery's injuries, and he said, "Oh my God, those injuries are identical to the injuries that my victim had."
Detectives give him a photo array of 6 photographs. As soon as they laid that lineup on the table, he put his finger, boom, that's him. That was Daniel Connehan. We had more than sufficient evidence. The judge agreed, and we arrested him.
We charged him with the attempted murder and rape of this other victim.
Daniel Connehan was safely off the streets. But to charge him with the murders of Richard Montgomery or Kenny Smith, investigators needed more evidence.
During the examination at the medical examiner's office, on Richard Montgomery, his swab, they found a paint chip by his hip. When we served the search warrants on Mr. Connehan's car, we also collected samples of paint. We were able to process those paint samples, and these 2 particular samples matched. That paint chip puts Mr. Connehan's car with Mr. Montgomery.
That was huge. We were able to establish we had physical evidence, we had his MO, we had enough at that time that we charged him with the murder of Richard Montgomery.
This is a big relief to a lot of people and a little bit of closure to what happened to Richard.
It just makes you wonder the depth of his insanity. Because at the bottom of this, there's definitely a very sick, twisted mind.
With the help of one fortunate survivor and the collection of evidence, detectives pieced together exactly how Daniel Connehan carried out his horrific crimes.
Mr. Connehan would pick them up. They would be going back into the woods under the guise of posing nude in a bondage scenario. And he would offer them anywhere from $20 to $150, $200.
He would call a light bondage, which would be ropes tied around them very loosely. He had a method somehow of cinching those ropes to where his victims could not protect themselves and could not fight back.
Ultimately, he would strangle them.
Without enough evidence to tie him to the murder of Kenny Smith, Daniel Connehan Jr. stood trial for the murder of Richard Montgomery on August 9th, 1999.
Mr. Connehan played not guilty all the way up. He never admitted anything.
After an 8-day trial, Connehan was convicted of first-degree murder.
When it came time for his sentencing, the jury ultimately decided he should receive the death penalty.
Investigators never learned the identity of the John Doe whose bones were found in Susan Brown's backyard. And sadly, they believed even more unidentified victims were killed by Connehan.
During our investigation, we estimated that there were probably 16 victims out there.
To try to understand why a sick killer like Daniel Connehan does what he does is anybody's guess. You see a need to control. And you see that with a lot of serial killers. a whole lot of people remember him. And that's something that's going to be part of the history and lore of that place for generations.
John Jacoud chooses to remember his close friend Richard Montgomery and the life stolen from him far too soon.
I really spent a lot of time trying to forget about exactly what happened to him. What I like people to know about Richard is that